couldn't get the grading to look good when shooting at all.
No, Jordan was struggling with that as well.
Yeah, it's really hard.
In the end, I just used everything the most default, and then in post, I just completely fixed everything on the Vinci.
That's
So
what I had to do. I had to
didn't use
grade
it.
everything afterwards.
The audio is what I had most trouble with.
Yes, I took my own microphone. I'm so good. It's like a backup. I'm so glad I did because the mic they provided, like they were like, oh no, this is what I use all the time. Shit house.
It was awful.
Yeah.
We had to do several takes because looking back at them, every now and again, just randomly kind of go like. So throughout the majority of it, it was just a pop in, so we had to do it.
Oh god.
So now, in the final, I have one. It's not really anywhere near as well, but
Mine's not perfect. I'm a bit annoyed because I think what I submitted this year is not as good as what I did last year, which is kind of the wrong way around. That's what it is.
I like one of them.
Yeah.
No.
Tricky one, isn't it? Once it's done. Next bit should be better, hopefully.
You know. Guys, thank you very, very, very much. Have a move well.
So, the house is nice. There's a lot of issues with it. The washing machine is leaking. The bedroom range doesn't work. The oven doesn't work. Another bathroom there. I've looked at it starting it's sometimes clogs. There are a few issues with it. It's like
Oh, that's great, actually. Yeah. That's great. Nice.
I hate the internet now. Everything is like 2,000 pop-ups to get to anything. I understand it, but
I'm only using Microsoft Edge because this inept fucking organisation. It says Studio.
yeah.
I wouldn't touch your piece of shit browser with a fucking with someone else's.
Is
Let
it
alone
like
mine.
new Firefox? Is it? Is it like the replacement for?
New Internet Explorer
Oh.
because they finally retired.
Wow.
What have I got to do this week? I've done that. What shit is this? What did I just do? Friday 18th of November. That's Friday.
Lisa, do you know if you can slot Nearpod slides into an existing presentation on Google Docs? Or do you have to do it through Nearpod?
I've never tried.
Yeah.
Is the short answer. It has better integration with Google Docs than it does with Microsoft.
Okay, good.
So it is worth giving it a try, I would say. It's kind of, I wouldn't say built on, but built for Google Docs. So it will probably work.
Okay. present through Google Docs, but I was going to integrate some Neopods and during this weekend.
It does, I mean, if you do it on Google Docs, the only reason I don't do the presentations in Google Docs is because when you upload them to Canvas, they look terrible.
Right.
And they often don't format
Yeah.
properly in the Canvas thing, so I'm kind of doing it the wrong way on Neopod.
It makes sense for this though, but
Yeah.
I feel like a live presentation I can probably get away with it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it presents okay.
Yeah.
So, and you can mess around with the format of it, but I think if Google Docs presentation would be better on this. I mean, I could just copy my PowerPoints into Google Docs, but that's what easier. It sounds like a whole thing that I'm not into.
Yeah.
Another piece of software.
You might know this before I start in about a load of slides.
When's it for?
I'm doing it this weekend, so 19th. I've already built the slides and everything. I'm just trying to, it's a workshop, so I need to make it a bit more interactive.
Yeah. This will do it.
Do you have an app? I could just go on, because I always do it on my desk, on my Mac.
I make them on the desktop, but there's no reason you can't do it on an app.
Cool. Because mobile people there will just do it on mobile. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he must have got it off Monday. He came down
Oh, do you mean like responses? Yeah. App.
They need the app because they just go online on their phone.
They can do it on the browser on their phone.
Cool. I
Um,
don't want to make them download something they don't.
the only times I've done it in, so not in these kind of settings, I've like given people an instruction before 5 minutes before the workshop to download this app, assuming that they've got access to Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Time to call us.
10 and 4.
Jesus Christ. Shocking. It's less and less all the time. It's getting to that point in the semester now where people have given up now. Like, I'm going to give up too. I feel I'm zero fucking energy. I've got more work from you coming on Friday. I'm going to give up on that. It'll all depend on what mood I am on Friday afternoon. Right?
It's very interesting.
You might want to see my mood on Friday afternoon, Chester, with some coffee. Right? What do you mean it's very interesting?
It was really good.
Like it?
Oh, shoot.
I hope so.
Good.
As opposed to being boring shit, do you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. That's one of the worst green grubs in history. It's very interesting. I got marked second year work this year.
Shame.
Fuck's sake.
Who's second your work?
MS-346.
That's
Essays.
Williams one, isn't it?
Yeah. Waste of fucking time. Second years couldn't tie their own shoelaces, let alone theorise something.
Is this how you spoke about us as well?
Mm.
Is this how you spoke about us?
It was more gradiated with you guys. There were some who could do it, and then there was a morass of your year who, you know, I wouldn't let them serve me McDonald's, quite frankly. But this self-serving selection in here, all good. What have we got? 2 weeks and 3 days until you submit. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna die.
No, you're going to get it done. That's what you're going to do.
I am.
So, I know, Morgan, I'm going to let you off this one because you've given me an update and I think it's all good. But yeah, take into account what I said about choice, because I think your idea is good and it gives you an opportunity to criticise those notions of fixed choice. Cheska, where you at?
We're looking at like emotional responses to characters and narrative and
Ooh, slides today, yeah?
yeah, basically.
Okay.
And like the virtual world and magic circle stuff.
Okay. So most of the content today comes from Catherine Ibista's book, Games That Move Us, or Motion by Design, it might be called, but do have a look further in that.
Yeah, she did the TED Talk, didn't she? Is it that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I want to talk about what different players get from Well, I've started on Dead Space, but I think I've written a bit of a script for the Resident Evil 2 remake now. I feel like I just know a bit more. I think I'd find it easier to theorize.
Alright. What are you going to talk about?
Just the week 2 content about I think it was week 2 of like how different people get different feel different things from what I got. I can't think of the word right now. It's 9 AM.
Experiences.
It's 10 a.m.
10 AM. It's 10:07.
Indeed. Alright. More stuff.
Right, okay.
This is a third year assignment. Talking about one aspect. You need more.
Yeah, no problem.
There's plenty. Just scalp from the fucking slides.
Yeah,
That's what they're there for.
that's the plan.
Okay.
I kind of know what I'm doing, I just don't know how I'm going to do it. Like,
Oh, okay, that's a more. Is this a more technical problem?
not really, just I don't know how I'm going to, like,
Alright.
record it and upload it, like, if I'm...
Are you okay with capturing?
Yeah, I just want to do it, like, separately, so I want to record it and then kind of record my audio and, like, put it together,
Yeah, perfect. That's exactly how I would do it.
but I don't really know how to do that.
Have you got any experience with, what have you got, Mac?
Yeah,
Okay, so you've got iMovie on there.
yeah.
Okay, so if you come in office hours, I'll show you how to do it, but I'm sure there's loads of people in here who could show you how to do it as well. Basically, you upload your video, you take your video clip and put it into iVideo, take your audio clip and put it in, and it gives you 2 separate tracks, and then you can edit them together. Basically, you can chop
Okay.
and edit. With iVideo, it's really intuitive. Anyone basically after 5 minutes will be masterful at it. It's not the most sophisticated thing in the world, but for the purposes of this, ideal. It'd be absolutely fine. But if you do need any help, come to office hours, Mondays, Thursdays, or drop me a line, bring your computer in. It would honestly be 10-15 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Mason,
Focus now is to go through the reading list and pick up all the key content that I want, and just like sort of put it into a document, and then sort of just think what I'm going to talk about, and sort of just pick like the key stuff I really want.
storyboarding it out then.
Yeah.
Have you got any ideas what kind of theoretical content you want to talk about?
No, that's not yet. That's why I'm going to look through the slides and
Okay.
sort of revise.
Alright, okay. Nick?
Just reading more as well, listening, about stuff.
Okay. Eve? You haven't done like at all.
No, I've not. Because I'm not going to lie about it. Because we've had 2 just, like one's doing now and one we've had just doing.
Okay.
So I've been focusing
Yeah, that's
just on them.
Is that the same with everyone?
Mm.
Oh, it's difficult the third year.
Yeah, to be
It's
honest,
hard work.
this
Who would have fucking thunk it?
this dissertation preparation one's really messing me up because it's always sort of been, apart from like one module in first year, it's always been just like the 2 assessments.
Yeah.
Like one in December, one
This
in
one is due
January.
on Friday. How long is it?
It's only 800 words, but it's that I can't access any of, because I was gonna do whilst I was in America, I couldn't access any of the literature I needed online. So
Oh, yeah.
Zed Library.
Oh.
What's this?
small stuff.
World's smallest violin, playing for the person who went to America for a week.
Do you know what to use?
Yeah. Jordan.
So like Eve, I haven't really touched the project that much, and I think my game plans have to sort of change, because originally I was gonna like start a new sort of like kind of world on Sims, but
Yeah.
looking at my time frame now, with just like stuff that's been going on, that's not going to be very realistic. So
Yeah, be flexible with it.
Yeah.
If you've got something going on already, use it.
Okay.
Okay.
So I now know exactly kind of like the version I'm going to get. I just haven't actually done that bit yet.
Okay.
But I've got that on the plan, like a time scale. So I've got expanded onto the plans I initially had and looked into a lot of like escapism, why players make certain choices, and I haven't looked into it specifically, but I'm going to look into exactly how quickly choices are made, 'cause especially in certain scenarios.
Interesting.
You can choose how
I
to do something,
I
but you
covered
can do
that
it instinctively. or
slightly
you
this
can do
morning.
this.
So that book that I was just referring to, is Bista's book. which is in the reading folder. Have a look at it because there's a big section on choices and how choices drive the emotional attachment that we have to the text itself.
Okay.
And that element of speed is important in terms of directing choice and directing the sort of bond that you feel with the environment itself. So yeah, there's copy and paste job from there. It's going to be good. Nice one, Ben. Yes.
I'm sort of in a similar boat. I haven't made a big bite into this, but I've got an idea of what I want to do. So I do want to record and do voiceover afterwards. I'm still planning on sticking with Uncharted 4, although I'm really far through that game, and I don't know if that's good
That's okay.
or bad. Yeah, okay, so I want to check that with you. I was going to,
Just the footage you get, you can still reflect.
yeah.
You know, if you're at a particular point, especially in a linear game like this,
Okay.
there's no problem in reflecting backwards as to what it does. There's a temptation to start again.
That's kind of.
I don't think that's a great idea.
And so, would you recommend not starting a new game either? Like, it's good.
No, I'd
Yeah.
stick with what you've got.
Cool. Okay. And then it'll probably go deeper, but at the moment I'm planning to focus on colonialism, flow, my emotional response to it, because it's really good narrative and storytelling, and just general ideologies of being like white and male and going into another space and sort of that aspect. And then also my own gameplay, why I keep playing rather than dropping it, because I drop a lot of games. And going from that side.
Superb. That'd be great. Okay. I'm hearing a lot of things which both concern me and reassure me. It's, the things are absolutely normal. If you're feeling overwhelmed and you think that this is going to be very difficult, here are some cheats. You may well have a game. I'm not looking at you in particular, Eve, but I am looking at you directly, which you don't have a great amount of experience of. Do you think there's any discernible way that I'd be able to tell if it's you playing?
Nope.
So where would you get your footage from? Look, assignments don't make a certain set of assumptions that can never be met, all right? And this goes for any assignment that you're doing. If you're doing an essay for somebody, the assumption is that the content that you have read, that you have used in that essay, you have read because you put it in a bibliography. Now, who, honestly, hand on heart, can put their hand up and say that they have read everything that they've put in a bibliography in the last 2.5 years?
Read like a
I
couple of
can't.
sentences.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
I find the word I need.
Yeah.
And then put that in
Sure.
quotation
There you go.
to say what I want to write
Yeah.
it.
I certainly can't make that claim for anything I've ever written. Somebody once asked me about some fucking obscure reference in my PhD. I was like, I haven't a clue what you're talking about. I'm like, you referenced this in your PhD? And it's like, it's like 300 fucking references. Do you think I read all that shit? You must be joking. Right? Play smart. Okay? If you are struggling that badly for footage of stuff, play smart. I won't know. I don't think you're in this position, but Mason, right? Oregon Trail. There's so much video footage of Oregon Trail online, right? I mean, the game itself only takes like a couple of hours to play through. There's got to be like thousands of hours of it online. If you think there's interesting things that you can drop in, well, I know that it was you, especially something like that. I am not going to know, okay? So play. Look, this is just general advice, right? You've internalized it for a lot of assignments that you do. I don't read the whole book. Who does something? Who has the time, quite frankly, to read a whole book? I read a book on the flight back from Poland the other day. It's lovely. I had time. I had 2 seats to myself. I was kicking back. It was all good. And now I don't have any time. So, look, shortcuts, take them. There is no discernible way, Josh, I will know if you've ever even played Resident Evil 2. But you can script it like you have. You can act this out. Do I believe for 1 second, did all of you do social media cultures?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you think I labour under the misapprehension that everything that gets submitted in that module is genuine? It's not. So some things that people do or that submit for that is total bullshit. You might get good marks, but it ain't real. Okay. So these second year essays that are going to come in, people are going to be talking about Stuart Hall's audience theory. It's like, yeah, like the fuck you have read Hall. Stuart Hall, he's sadly passed away now, but his ghost could come and slap someone in the face that wouldn't know who he was. So please. But the same goes for me. I don't read stuff. I ain't got time for that shit. I just write a load of crap, stick some references in. Seems to be alright. People like it. Calm down. Relax. Take shortcuts. Take shortcuts within the parameters of the stuff that you will know will work. Okay? That's important. With regards to, obviously people have got a bit of a crunch now, it sounds like. Are there any more crunches coming up? Do you want to elaborate on the nod?
Is the crunch like assignments?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I got 2 on Friday.
2 on Friday.
And then I'll focus on...
One of them's only 800 words.
Yeah, but it's a lot of reading.
It's 2 papers.
I know, but I still haven't picked one.
I gave you the 2.
Yeah, I know, but that was from 2009. There's only 4 years apart, and there's been so much since.
I'll just do the 2.
Okay.
Stop making life difficult. Jesus Christ. Behave for it. What's the other one?
What the other assignment? Graphic novels.
Oh, okay. That's your fault for picking a silly module. What do you have to do with graphic novels? Like read graphic novels?
Analyse.
That's,
Basically English literature with
that's
pictures.
pretty sweet, to be fair. I'm down with that. I should take that module. Unfortunately, the university charges me for doing that. I'm not paying. Anyone else got big assignment stress at the moment? What's going on?
Everything's coming to a head. I've got to write a screenplay for the next couple of weeks, and then I've got this.
Listen.
Yeah.
An entire screenplay?
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I've got to do the treatment, and then the writing of it comes afterwards. But then I've got this, and then I've got so this is on the 1st of December, by the 6th, we've got our next filmmaking deadline. So it's all a bit of a crunch up until then.
Yeah. Is filmmaking the same as it used to be, where you do like 1 thing a week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've got 2 hard deadlines this year.
Okay.
Last year.
Well, it's, again, will George just know? Will he know?
That module one.
I mean,
With
take,
this- with
take,
this
a, take a
one,
gamble.
This is the big
With
one.
this
This is the big
This
one.
is
The big one.
one.
It's the broadcasting one in the studios. He'll be there.
What do you have to do?
We have to work in like one of the studios there.
As a team?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck
We
that.
have to cast each other.
Any teamwork or
It's
group
a
work is a
group
waste
bit.
of time, right?
Avoid
Avoid any module that has group work, alright?
No.
Yeah?
Well, I didn't realise it
Yeah,
was
but
a
you can't
group
other people
one.
I know, I hate
What do you mean you didn't realise?
This wasn't on like the original.
I
No,
think
this
it is. I
wasn't-
might be wrong. It reads like this.
This
though.
was not originally. Giorgio enjoys changing the module handbook.
Oh,
So the
really?
requirements for
He
assessments
loves
every few weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Keeps
like-
things exciting. What's the matter with you people? Stop being so boring.
That week we've got back
Right. So that chewed up 20 minutes. It's just sorry, I haven't got that much content for today. So
Of assignments. Of
this
22nd, summary.
topic follows up the session that we did before the study break. Oh crap. You all know there's going to be a strike, right?
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's this?
25th, 26th. No, I've got the dates wrong now.
Is
The one for this lecture is the 28th. But there's 2
I
days
don't
the
think
previous
it's
week.
on Mondays or Tuesdays, right?
It is on Monday.
It was the last week.
Oh, they changed it, though.
No.
because it was on.
So it's on a Thursday, Friday and Monday.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. So the Monday one is the 28th, 27th, 26th, 25th and 24th are the other 2 dates. So
We've been emailed that. Will I find?
this is the point. The university will be sending an email about it. So apparently we're not even supposed to talk about it. So this is week 7, week 8, week 9 in the lectures. I'm thinking that is something important. I'm thinking it's gender, which is really freaking important, especially when it comes, because I know a lot of people will want to talk about this in the essay. We're going to have to rearrange it. I won't be able to do it on the day, because that's just a no. I'm not supposed to rearrange it, but I am going to have to rearrange it. It's going to have to be done. How are people fixed on Wednesdays?
No lectures.
Has
Yeah.
anyone got anything on a Wednesday?
What date would this be?
Wednesday the 30th, I'm thinking, Jess. Obviously I'll record as well.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm
the
not-
assessments do.
I'm not here.
Okay.
I'll have MSP 300R in the morning. That's on
I was thinking afternoon rather than morning.
Yeah,
because
fine,
it'd be
it's like
easier to do.
Afternoon's better.
Like, we usually have a team meeting about 1 o'clock, so can we say about 1 o'clock?
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I don't want to go to the fucking team meeting. So
Okay, Wednesday the 30th.
I will find us a room somewhere to do this in, and we will go from there. Okay, so if we pencil in, there's no way I can. I'm not snapping basically, but yeah, it's. There's nothing yet officially from the university. Like last year, I'm fingers crossed that this doesn't happen. And they pull it out in the next 2 weeks, and this does not happen because I could really do without losing all this money. But yeah. Yeah. The people who run unions obviously don't have bills. That's the only thing I can actually conclude from this. So yeah, better bring that up. Right. Being in the game, immersion, presence, and the effective feeling. Now, immersion and presence was stuff I talked about a couple of weeks ago. Effective feeling of games is the core to it. Now, a couple of people talk about emotion in terms of their videos, so obviously this content will be useful. The book I take this from, I did set the reading from it, right? Catherine, I can never say her name right. It's really bad. Isbista, I think, is how you say it. It's a Scottish name. I wanted to start with a question. What games have produced a real, identifiable, emotional response in you, and why? I had an emotional response to a game last week. Took my little handheld retro console to Poland with me. I'm playing NHL 94, as I've done a million times before. Got to the Stanley Cup final, got beat in overtime, and I think the people next door heard me when I was shouting. But then I heard them banging that evening. So, 6 on 1, half dozen on 1. Is this a Mario game that I'm not familiar with, where you go and like barter? It's like an Italian dude. Hey, 35 cents for this pear. Is it? Why are you using your full name? What the fuck is the matter with you?
It said on the thing, full name. So it's my full name.
Should take it like Cheska does. My full name is just my abbreviated first name in capitals. Because I'm a badass. You played Papers, Please?
Yeah.
A lot.
Some of Papers, Please.
Some of it.
Yeah, yeah.
What did you make of it?
I think it's brilliant.
It's really interesting. Yeah.
It's so out of the ordinary. That,
Is it like the one with like the Soviet?
yeah.
Yeah.
The
You played
board and
Cheska.
ball.
Yeah. I got a screenshot from it later. I was playing it in the summer when I was putting this lecture
Yeah,
together.
I'm too competitive.
I was just
I'm
like,
too bad at it.
wow, this is
Yes,
really,
interesting
really
design.
interesting.
It's like doing it,
In a way that a lot of things aren't, quite frankly.
Makes moving paper around and rejecting people fun.
Yeah.
It's a day job fun.
There's another one, it was a mobile-only game.
With the cartel.
I'll tell you the title of it now, which is quite similar.
Right.
Train to Sachsenhausen. Give it a shot. Sachsenhausen,
Thank you.
the first Nazi concentration camp. Yeah, it weirdly isn't as bad as you might think it is. And it kind of riffs on a board game that came out in the late 2000s. It never, well, you say it came out, it never got released as a board game. Like you couldn't go to a toy shop and buy it. Called Train.
Right.
Where the purpose of the game was to move as many pieces onto a train as you possibly can in the most efficient way. Once you've got enough pieces on, then you can reveal the destination of the train. Does anyone know what the destination of the train is? One worder? Auschwitz. Yeah, so you play the game in order to make the most efficient transport to Auschwitz. Alternative gaming. It's really,
You said that's
really-
not still available.
Yeah, never was made available.
Oh,
You
okay.
can play it. The woman who created it made a number of copies, and I think there's, I forget which museum, but there's a museum in London that has this as a playable, or at least did.
Right.
And a few places in America do, and interestingly, Poland, there's a few places where you can do this as well. But she never made it as like, you know, Hasbro didn't pick it up for distribution.
I was going to say my husband's grab
Monopoly Millennial Edition, a train. Fun for all the family. Right, so what we got here? Why is death?
Well, it's not death, it's losing.
Oh,
It's the
okay.
frustration,
Death isn't
you know, so often the games I play there's death, but it's losing.
But it's a frustration emotion rather than a,
Rather
oh
than
no, I've died.
Oh yeah, no, it's frustration and
You see,
annoyance.
if Eve had started earlier, you'd have a big emotional moment in the game that you're playing. But you'll never get there at this point. Stray. Do we have any strayers? Only me and you?
Yeah.
Anyone else play Stray? Oh, it's so cute.
It looks really cute. It's so
Hmm?
It looks really cute.
Yeah, I thought more people would have given it a go.
It's a short game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really short.
Like 2-3 hours,
Unit
something like that?
Yeah, I think I took
Or maybe
5.
6, yeah.
I had 5. I think I went about 5 or 6 hours to play through, but that was mostly getting up and making a cup of tea every hour as well. So yeah, it is really cute and it's quite safe
Yeah.
as well.
It's medium peril.
There's not a great deal of peril in it. There's a few moments when you think with those little
Those little weird things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Gears of War, when Dom dies, yeah, the use of a character death is always a heartstring puller. Yeah, I'm Mario Kart. I think Mario Kart would be awesome as well. I genuinely Mario goes to Morrison's and tries to fucking go shopping. That'd be amazing. Morgan.
We actually got a pitch as well because there's a level in Mario Kart called Coconut Mall.
Oh yeah, that's right,
Wall.
yeah. What? Just anger. Because are you not very good?
No, I'm great.
Oh, I see.
But when you're doing so well and you're about to win it and then you get hit by something at the last minute.
It can be frustrating.
It's
Doesn't
frustrating.
Nintendo do that on purpose though? They level the playing field. So if you're
Yeah.
winning, you get targeted with
Yeah,
higher weapons.
they up the rate of
Yeah.
objects.
And if you're
Yeah,
losing,
yeah.
you get helping hand, don't you?
There's a great. I mean, TikTok is a problematic platform for me. For some reason, I get loads of videos at the moment of people playing F122 online because you get people who are driving along and then some twat next to them just bumps them or something like, and then they go mental. And it's either Irish or Scottish people who lose it completely as well. And the anger is so palpable, it's amazing. Red Dead makes you angry because you blow at it. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a certain level of skill here, which is. I think the book I read on Saturday night was about not Red Dead 2, but Red Dead 1 and LA Noire, 2 Rockstar games, where the author, who's a lecturer in Cardiff, Esther Wright, she was talking partially about how Rockstar as a company build emotional content in order to differentiate their games from other games of their kind. That they focus heavily on including emotional content, and largely that emotional content comes from cutscenes. There's no other company that uses cutscenes as much, which gives their games a cinematic feel, which is a little bit false. And secondly, that those cutscenes serve the purpose of driving emotional attachment to characters, to situation. So yeah, Red Dead can have emotional content if you get a bit further. Last of Us, why, Jessica? It's often cited in this as well.
Honestly, I won't even play the second game because I won't be able to deal with it.
Was it that devastating, the first one?
It was just so emotionally enticing, and the cutscenes, and you really feel, because you're there when they first meet, you're there the whole way through it. It's just so emotional, like.
It's a really, I mean, it's won so much praise and awards, the original game. I think
it's so good.
I'll probably give it another go with this remastered one at some point. Again, written with purpose, I think is the key here. Written to do this. Walking Dead, I think it took a lot of inspiration from. I think Walking Dead was the first major AAA game to try this. What about Life is Strange? Which version, first of all, did you play?
I played all of them, but the first one with Max, I thought it was horrible with that bit where you have to try and convince the girl not to jump off the building. And there's a certain
I thought you were going to say this.
Yeah, and if you get it wrong, she'll jump, and then it's your responsibility, and you have to like reload the save game or carry on with that guilt.
Yeah.
And it's real guilt because you. I don't know.
That is interesting.
Mm.
It's something I'll talk about in a short while, but the notion of guilt for non-playable characters in particular is really, really interesting in terms of emotion. You feel guilty when something happens to a character in a game. Red Dead Redemption 2 does this a lot. It's a classic Rockstar thing of making you feel responsible for a character that has a tragic arc. But you don't necessarily know the tragic arc is coming, right? It's classic storytelling. This is classic cinematic storytelling, in fact, and literature storytelling to a certain, this is a classic literary method of doing things. That we feel a sense of responsibility for, let's be fair, something that doesn't exist, and for an arc which has already been written. There's no way. Yeah, Life is Strange is interesting because you can do something about it, but you have to do something in a particular way. It's not that, what's a little bit problematic to me is I don't think that it involves any skill. It's more, there's more randomness in it, although I think the programmers are actually making a comment about, suicide in real life, that, you can't internalize stopping somebody from doing this because it's out of your control anyway. So there's some interesting ones there. Josh, talk about Papers, Please.
Yeah, so have many of you guys heard of Papers, Please?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just like this indie game set in a fictional Soviet nation's border, and you're set with a lot of situations where you're accepting or rejecting people coming over, whether or not they have the right documents to work. But it makes you want to let people in. You meet girlfriends of security workers who are begging you to come through. If you're written up on like your actions, then it actually shows you like how much that costed from your wages and how that's affecting your family. The whole thing is just super anti make the right choice.
Why do you think it was made?
I think it was made. I think that the market was just it was so repetitive, so monotonous with what's coming up that the gameplay loop itself is you're literally sat in a inspections border, checking passports and documents. I think the whole point was that it was trying to make something really outlandish fun, which a AAA game would never probably do.
It's an interesting perspective. I don't think you're wrong. I sat and watched the news before walking to work this morning. That's a fucking depressing thing to do in the morning, I'm telling you. And once again, you get... I spent a week in a country that has accepted 3 million refugees in less than a year. And I switched on the news this morning, and the only story in the UK is about how we're being invaded by 10,000 people. I was like, small. I think Papers, Please is a way of remediating this debate. You know, that these are genuine things that happens on a daily basis, that people do sit in a booth like that and make decisions like this every day about people's lives and the consequences of that. In the game, how long is the decision?
Well, to the player, you won't hear of it again. But
Yeah. Quite. Yeah. And it takes you what? Like the choice that you make. It's a couple of minutes. Well, it's not even a couple of minutes, right? It's like you look at these papers and then just do that. That's pretty much how the immigration system works. And then the consequences that it unfolds
affects that person
for the rest of their lives, but also as, you know, if you say yes, it has these effects as well, and there's these things which are never thought of, because when you reduce a debate down to bare numbers, you remove the individuals from it, right? It's like Stalin said, death of one person is a tragedy, death of a million people is a statistic, yeah, because it's not meaningful. You can't even picture what a million people is. So I think the game serves a very important emotional purpose in terms of trying to get people to forget about numbers and focus on the individual and what consequences are for individuals who are making this kind of decision themselves, and then are pushed into a situation where, like, you have 2 seconds to do it. Uncharted 4, Brotherly Connections, interesting.
Well, yeah, it's like I feel like in certain areas in particular, especially somebody who like has a brother, it felt very real.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of TV shows, films, just you start to think, that shit's not believable. However, in that, it really made you feel like they were actually brothers, and in certain scenarios where I felt like you was in peril, that overall sense of having to protect one or get them to help them felt almost very realistic.
Yeah. The Red Dead one here is really interesting. Nobody gets upset at the bit afterwards.
Well, I mean, after's death.
Because you've just been through... Did you have the same horse all the way through?
I spent like the first hour of the game looking for I looked online for like the best horse to get, and it was that like Arabian one in the mountains. So I spent way too long trying to get it. Had that the entire game, and then when that happened, I'm not an animal person at all, but even when that went, I was a bit like, oh.
Yeah, I've played through it a few times, right, and I always get the same horse. You have to go and meet this old guy who lives by a lake and do 3 challenges with him, hunting challenges. You have to do like shoot a bear, do some fishing and so on, and he dies. I can't remember what kills him, a pig or something that you're supposed to be hunting. It like gouges him, and then he dies, and you get his horse, and his horse is amazing. It's not the Arabian, but it's kind of similar. And then you bond with your animal, you clean it, you feed him, you talk to him, and then that's exactly what happens. And every fucking time I've played through that stupid game, when the horse dies, I don't give a shit about my character dying. I couldn't care less, But when the horse dies, it pulls.
I think it's also because even after this, you will still keep going back and playing the game. However, that horse is dead.
It's dead. It cannot be recreated. Yeah, you can go back as John and play.
Yeah, that horse.
The horse is gone.
Yeah.
I'm feeling quite. No, we've got a few ragey things going on here. Why UFC?
Just because I'm really bad at it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
This is a skill thing.
Yeah, yeah. But with Mario Kart, because the peeled bananas on the track, slipping on them is the worst thing.
Even back in the first instance of Mario Kart, those goddamn banana peels. And if you were playing in multiplayer, that was the skill of multiplayer. Bumping people onto banana peels was the entire skill set of it. Only one person has mentioned funny.
Yeah, I like it when a game makes me actually laugh. I think it gets me to play along with it. And Uncharted, it's quite clever. The script is really clever in it, and the way it's performed, like it genuinely just catches me, and I actually laugh out loud, which is unusual, like more than a chuckle. So yeah, it's good.
I think it's underrated. I mean, one of my favourite games of the last 10 years is the Stick of Truth South Park game, which is, it's kind of a greatest hits of South Park in many ways. It's fucking hilarious. From beginning to, and I know it's my humour, right? Because I've been watching South Park for a very, very long time. But I mean, there's bits in it which have stayed with me from that first. I must have played through it first about 2013, something like that. And the bit where you meet, I don't know if anyone has actually played through this game or knows South Park well enough. The bit where you meet Lemmy Winks is possibly the funniest thing I have. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Is the funniest thing that I've ever experienced in a video game at all. Just to give some context, you meet Lemmy Winks in the colon of a character called Mr. Slave. Yeah, and that's quite close to the end of the game at that point. Yeah,
there's like cobwebs around. And like,
and there's like skeletons in there and stuff because he's been putting a lot of stuff up his ass basically. Is the short of it. You have to climb up a huge dildo, right, to get to Lemmy Winks. Of a game which is very funny, just that they would push it that far, was it. I mean, it kind of every time I think back to it, I get a smile. It's just like that was hilarious, like all the way through. That was absolutely hilarious. So I think humour is underrated in terms of emotional content. We don't sometimes, we don't think fun and funny is an emotional response. Of course it is. It's a really important emotional response. So, Catherine Isbister's argument really can be summed up in this. Games can create a powerful role in creating empathy and other strong positive emotional experiences. Now, empathy is nearly everything in terms of game studies, what they've been focusing on. The reason for this is fairly straightforward, I think. There's a powerful discourse within popular culture that says, which I think is completely wrong, which says gaming is solitary and that people who are gamers, and we did the lecture on gamers and who gamers are and the identity of gamers. People who are gamers, who identify as gamers or can be identified as gamers are somehow deficient in terms of empathy for other people. Because gaming is a solitary, or can be a solitary exercise, because gamers are often presented as antisocial or having antisocial behavioural qualities, therefore, game studies has reacted to that discourse by creating its own discourse around empathy and how games can improve empathetic response to other people. So there's a very, very long strand of research on emotion in games that mines this idea of gaming for empathetic purpose. I think there's something in it. I genuinely think gaming can improve empathetic response. It depends what... Papers, Please being a great example of this, right? It's not the only example by any means. I think Life is Strange, the whole series, is actually really good. I'd love Life is Strange to be given to kids to play. I think they might have to change some of the elements of it a little, but I think a game like that could be really, really important in that context. In media studies in general, this is like war of media studies shit here, right? it's not a media studies person saying this, but people talk about games don't have the emotional impact of movies. I think they do, just have a different palette. I never felt pride or guilt watching a movie. That's Will Wright. He made The Sims. I think he has a point. And we said about guilt earlier. I mean, something like Papers, Please is guilt. I didn't try this in Stray. I don't think I could try this in Stray. Could you try and kill the cat?
Oh, I don't know.
As a, would you feel guilty?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd feel genuinely, no, I couldn't do it.
But in The Sims, I kill people all the time on purpose. It's
There you go.
completely different.
There you go. Completely different. You mistreat Sims.
Oh yeah, 100%. You trap them in rooms and...
Why do you not feel guilty?
Because it's a human. It's my favourite
That's
human.
worse. That's really bad.
It's not real either, is it? It doesn't feel real. To the same extent, I don't think.
I don't know. Doesn't it?
To me it doesn't.
Okay. So you have an emotional distance from
Yeah,
your Sims.
definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's the important thing here. Is that, an environment like Sims, depending on how we approach it, you can have an emotional distance from this. The classic one when I was a kid. I mean, Sims didn't emerge till I was nearly 20, I suppose, but SimCity was around, but there weren't people in SimCity. So the one we had when we were kids was Lemmings.
Mm.
Does it, anyone know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Lemmings? I mean, again, it's a free game, you can play it on a browser. It's fun to play. You have 100 lemmings, you dropped into a particular environment, and you have to build steps and put umbrella icons in particular places, because if they fall too far, they die. And there are traps all around, like fire and so on. And the purpose is to save as many lemmings as you possibly can. If you save all of them, you get a bonus, but you have a certain amount that you can lose each time. And of course, you play through and then you forget to put something somewhere, and they all fall to their death. That's also fun, to watch all the lemmings, and they scream. Every time they die. And this can be an immense amount of fun as well. But, you know, you restart and you do it properly and then you get through it. So it's not so much... I think there's an emotional distance to what is going on here. I think Wright's point, pride, guilt... This is the guy who invented The Sims, obviously, or created The Sims. That notion of pride is quite interesting, that you can do things in games which you genuinely feel proud that you have created. You know, you can create your avatar in a particular way, or upgrade your avatar in a particular way that gives it personalization, that, you know, this feels me. Your horse in Red Dead would be a good example of this, where you can do it for another aspect of your avatar. Something like Minecraft, where you build in a particular way and you can feel an immense sense of satisfaction and pride at doing that. Or, you know, something more simple than, you know, you manage to achieve something in a perfect way. You know, you get a gold trophy for it, or, your ability confers a sense of pride. I don't get that from movies. I'm not involved in the making of this. I'm not active in it. You know, I watch a movie. I might feel enjoyment. I might think, that's great. I'm glad I watched that. You know, I'm glad I put the effort into it, but it's not the same kind of emotional tenor as when you have control over something. Compelling games don't happen by accident, any more than novels, movies, or music do. Creators draw from a well-defined set of strategies and techniques to create emotional response. So, point one, and if you're thinking about emotions for the video, this is deliberate. You know, there is thought, there is design, there is storyboarding, there is research that goes into this. So to draw on Stray, how many times did you let the cat stand still?
A few.
Yeah, what does it do?
He like curls up and goes to sleep, and there's
Aw.
little cat so cute.
Yeah. Starts licking his paws and having a clean and stuff like that. Totally deliberate.
Yeah.
Totally designed to do that. The game actually wants you to stop. So you can go, oh.
We even have little cushions for you to sit on, and it's
Yeah.
nothing to do with the game, you just have a sit.
It serves no function at all. You have no XP out of it or anything of that relation, but if you find a cushion, you can sit down and go to sleep. There was a little bit in one of the robot cities where you can jump up onto somebody who's lying down and sleep on their chest. Yeah, everyone's done it.
Yeah.
Total design choices to try and increase the emotional tenor of what we're doing. Now, according to Isbista, the two unique qualities of games that allow us to develop these emotional aspects are choice and flow. So again, they're things which we've spoken about earlier. And the choice aspect is really important because this is something that other media doesn't afford us. We don't... there have been attempts to do this in other media. I'm waiting, I hope nobody raises it, but the one that when I was thinking about this in the summer, I put it on a Discord server that I'm part of, and you know, what do you think about this? And said, well, what about Bandersnatch? I was like, that isn't a set of choices at all. That's all been pre-made. Really, all you're doing there is watching it in a particular order, and you can go back and watch it again in a particular order. It's a kind of almost like a cynical ploy to get you to watch the same thing more than once at the end of the day. And I think what was more problematic about that Black Mirror episode was it wasn't very fucking good either. It was really boring. And it's like, I don't want to watch it again, and I don't care what happens to any of the people in it, because I didn't have any emotional connection to any of the characters, because they were really dull and poorly written. And that kind of happens with that show sometimes. So with very rare exceptions, this is not true of other media. There have been intersections between games and this media in the past where this has been attempted, and it's been really, really unsuccessful. The sort of full motion video movement of the early 90s tried to intersect games and film in a way that your choices would be enacted out. Interesting historical artifacts. The one that people always remember is a game from '92 called Night Trap, which came out on the Sega CD. People only really remember it because Senator Joe Lieberman brought it up in Congress when they were trying to get it banned because it was pornographic. It was not pornographic. However, Joe Lieberman mentioning that in 1992 made a lot of people like me, who was 13 at the time, go and buy this piece of shit game because we thought it was pornographic, because this was pre